Firstly, I just want to talk about what's happening in Australia. We have the same inequities that the President was talking about this morning with respect to a chronic workforce shortage. Our teachers are grappling with escalating workloads, a lack of resourcing and funding in their schools, and job insecurity. And for all states, there's an attraction, but also a retention problem. But we have some policy solutions, which I'll talk about. And for us, that's why the UN high-level panel recommendations are so important, because they provide the roadmap for governments and unions to work together to address that global shortage of teachers that we're all facing. And that starts by recognising the professionalism of teachers and their dignity, ensuring that they have decent working conditions and attractive salaries, secure employment and manageable workloads. But it also requires investments in our schools and in our teachers. Public schools in Australia have been underfunded for far too long, with 1 in 10 students not funded. And our union has run a very strong public and community campaign to address this. I don't have time to go into the details, but this year we had an amazing win in January when the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, announced a $16.5 billion investment in public schools across the next decade, life-changing for students and life-changing for teachers in public schools. So these funds will make their way into public schools, and they'll provide teaching and learning programs for those students who need extra help, and they'll focus on three key areas, which is equity and excellence, wellbeing for learning and engagement, and a strong and sustainable workforce. But the decisions and the responsibility of how those funds are utilised in schools must belong to the teaching profession via their union. That's very important, because it's teachers who must be central to decision-making about their work, and that requires partnership and social dialogue, as we've been talking about today. We're in conversation right now with our government about Recommendation 5 of the UN High-Level Panel recommendation, and that's the establishment of a national commission for teaching. Which should include the relevant financial authorities, teacher unions, and look at the national education architecture to assess and tackle the teaching crisis. And that includes investing in competitive salaries and quality teacher training and ongoing professional development. And if we get that right, it will provide the conditions for the rest of the UN recommendations to be delivered. Just policy options here in Australia, between 2021 and 2023, we had a 21% enrolment decline in the number of people commencing a university degree, and we had a 50% dropout rate before completion. So we've had difficulty also retaining experienced teachers due to the working conditions. So we began a dialogue between the government and the unions, with a national teacher workforce action plan being developed jointly over a period of about 6 months, which had strategies to target the chronic workforce shortages. And as a result, the government has implemented 5,000 teacher scholarships across 5 years, worth $40,000 for teaching students, with a commitment that if you receive a scholarship, you must teach in a public school. And further in July, a new initiative started with a $331 per week teaching practicum payment for teaching students to support them while they're undertaking their practice and to help them with the cost of living. And we've also just had a 20% higher education debt relief implemented by the government. So it's become much more attractive to study to be a teacher. So it's early days, but the data already shows that this year we've seen an 11% increase in the number of people commencing a university degree. So when governments see education as an investment in our nation, and not as a cost to be managed within a budget, then all things are possible. And when they forge collaborative relationships with teachers and their unions, then we can achieve change, and we can bring life to the 59 recommendations of the UN High-Level Panel. Thank you.